Welcome to this special edition of Markets Daily, where we're joined by international money transfer company MoneyGram, which provides key on and off ramps for the crypto world. On the Stellar network, they've been pivotal to giving unbanked communities access to local currencies via stablecoins. Earlier today, I spoke to MoneyGram International Chair and CEO Alex Holmes. Have a listen. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. MoneyGram has had a really great progressive development on the Stellar network in terms of providing the on and off ramps, as I mentioned. And you also have an announcement today. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, we certainly do. We're announcing our MoneyGram wallet. So for the first time, we're enabling USDC transfers through the MoneyGram network through a special app, which now basically enables, well, actually only live today in the United States, Brazil, and Mexico. But it's our first foray into really changing the paradigm around how money moves and giving consumers the ability to actually transfer USDC through the system, and then leveraging the Stellar access rails that we've created, enabling them to do cash in and cash out in markets around the world. So it's like super exciting and be part of our kind of future integration where we continue to try to bridge the world between fiat and crypto.
What was the demand or inspiration to have this product? I know there are other wallets out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we love all the wallets that we partner with, and every wallet has its own sort of specific use case and, kind of its own consumer base that has a need for that wallet. And many times what we see are wallets are being actively used to displace or change or really think differently about fiat and thinking differently about then how crypto can play a role there. Oftentimes, too, USDC and other stable coins are used to kind of bridge that gap between cryptocurrencies themselves, right, and try to create some stability. So what we wanted to do is actually think about how do we take advantage of the rails that we have, our ability to sort of send cash and every fiat you can think of around the world and enable consumers to send money back home. But how can you do that even in a more kind of stable and unique sort of way? Today, when you send money, you're sort of forcing a transaction to complete, right? You send money and you send US dollars, it goes to Mexico, it gets paid out in pesos. You send money from Saudi Arabia to India, and you're paying it out in rupee. This really actually enables consumers to think about loading money into a wallet, having stable currency, and then basically enabling them to send it into and receive it between each other and then cash it out when they want to. So it's helping to fight some inflation. It's helping to really think differently about safety, soundness. How do you really keep money secure?
Maybe you can break that down for me in terms of the user experience. Tell me, what from the moment you're sending money, who you're receiving to, and how they get that money in local currency, or are they, using the wallet to pay for things locally?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. So typically today in a remittance transaction is a consumer that needs to get money back home for a specific reason. So whether that is sending money to mom and dad, whether that's saving to return home someday, consumers leave their home countries and have responsibility back home. Today, we do that through basically our 440,000 physical locations around the world. We do that through about 5 billion digital endpoints, meaning we can move money in and out of bank accounts. We partner with about 170 fiat wallets around the world. Big partners like Gcash in the Philippines, as an example. And effectively, we move money across 200 different countries and territories. And so the use case there is typically around how does a consumer support their family while abroad. And so when you start bringing crypto into the equation, what a lot of the companies have been doing in the space and leveraging blockchain to try to think differently about how that can move and sort of avoid some of the pitfalls and traps you can get into with fiat currencies, like volatile currencies on the exotic side. When you get into things like Bangladeshi taka and Nigerian naira, you've got a lot of volatility. And so I think the ability to think differently about cross-border payments and sort of trying to bring stability into the market is really what a lot of the blockchain vision has been in terms of really leveraging crypto in that way to think differently about how consumers can interact with each other across borders where there may be some
So
challenges.
I'm just walk me through, how you're using the app. Are you going to a MoneyGram office and withdrawing money, or can you use your wallet directly with merchants?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be all the above. So today, consumers can basically walk into locations and pick up cash physically. They can walk in and put cash on the counter physically and say they want to send it cross border. Or you can go to the MoneyGram.com app and you can send money. And now through the MoneyGram wallet, you can go and you can walk into a physical location and load the wallet. you can go to physical location, unload the wallet, and then while in the digital world, you can transfer money seamlessly between people on the chain.
And I guess the key, the reason why we want to do all this partially is, we want to save on the fees. Does this help in that?
Yeah, it actually should in a major way, because you're going to be able to time your transfers very differently. Sending USDC is free to do, so you're really just going to be charged on the cash outside when you go to actually convert. And then, to your point, if you have the ability to take USDC and use it for payments at the point of sale, you'll be able to seamlessly do that in the future, which will enable you to actually never have to go into the cash world.
Alex, I want to throw a larger concept at you and get your take on it, because I think there's probably not many people who think about money going around the globe as you do. But I have this theory that really stablecoins are the in-game currency of the internet. And so we need an opportunity to be able to transfer money back and forth without really worrying about all the conversion that happens within country to country and region to region, whereas the internet itself is the largest mass of people that exists, right? So when we think about that, I think what the role that you guys play, and through a lot of the work you've done with Stellar here as well, is sometimes you still need to be able to take that money off, right? Yeah. And so is part of the idea around what you guys are doing is also really future-proofing the idea that at some point, whether it's USDC at one point or it could be any stable coin, that there are on-ramps, off-ramps in local markets for people who need to go buy milk, but that you also can get paid in essence, the highest value, most stable currency possible.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. I mean, absolutely what we're trying to do is really kind of change the paradigm around how people think about money. I mean, many of us today, when we travel, right, you can use, Visa, you can use a MasterCard, but you're sort of deferring and delaying a payment because eventually that money has to get paid later. Debit cards, shifting currencies through those has a lot of conversion rate issues associated with it. So if you're living cross-border, if you're not in your home market, banks are designed for domestic, right? And that's what they do, and they do it really well. Anytime you need to get a cross-border and you need to think differently about it, you really have to violate those sort of traditional banking laws in order to make that happen. And I do think that pushing things through stablecoin, thinking about how your Internet of Value concept really comes to play, makes a big difference in terms of a consumer's life and how they can actually kind of move from one day to the next. If you think about living on $1 a day somewhere, actually having a real physical dollar can make a big difference. Having a digital dollar, when you're working in basically a mobile technology world that is internet and basically Wi-Fi and cellular based, it's a huge shift. It's a huge shift in how consumers can really think about their everyday activities.
Hey everyone, did you know 52 million Americans own cryptocurrencies? That's not just a number, it's a movement, economic, social, and political. Decentralized finance, blockchain, and digital currencies are more than buzzwords, they are the future. This November, it's on us to show up and step up. We need to protect crypto to ensure it continues to fuel innovation and freedom for our families and businesses. Don't let this opportunity slip by. The future of crypto is on the line. Make your voice heard this November and pledge to vote now at standwithcrypto.org/pledge.
And you're starting off in the US, Brazil, and Mexico. I wonder why those countries specifically, and in the future, where you hoping to expand?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, the U.S. is the single largest send and receive market globally for remittances, and so it is absolutely the best place to test it. One of the other things that we've launched this year as part of MoneyGram on MoneyGram.com was our account service as well. So we actually are enabling now consumers to have a debit and basically banking services as part of MoneyGram, which is also a big shift for us. The integration of those two products for me is super exciting. So taking MoneyGram.com and being able to sort of load and unload and kind of seamlessly move USDC back between those two effectively wallets is super interesting to me. So it's a great use case and testing ground for us. And then Mexico being one of the largest receive markets for remittances, bridging that with the U.S. And starting there is great. And then we have a lot of new activities in Brazil. So it's sort of a bit of a nascent market for us. We just launched our MoneyGram.com app there earlier this year as well. So launching Wallet at the same time. And seeing what we can do in those markets. So they are sort of unique markets in many respects. The Stellar,
they're great test cases.
They're great test cases. Yeah, absolutely. So it should prove a lot because we really want to push this cross-border use case as a remittance use case, right?
Yeah.
And sort of bridge that and kind of compare it to the traditional service that we offer today.
Do you get a sense of how many people are using it based on the other wallets and partners you've been working with? Like, how many people are engaging in crypto?
Yeah, it's actually, for us, it's turning into, it was, a few people testing it, and it's actually quickly gone into sort of the thousands. And so, it's going to be really exciting to see how it goes, and then actually watching sort of the dollar sizes and the flows of funds and what consumers are really doing with it, and sort of the timing around utilization, and then we'll pivot and grow and kind of learn from there. So,
can you tease us on where you want to pivot and grow?
Well, I'd like to get in every country that I can. Today, Stellar Access is about 170 countries for cash out and 36 for cash in. So I'd like to at least get all of those covered. And then everywhere they have MoneyGram.com app today itself is about 40 markets. And so making it seamless between those would be huge. And then I think for the remittance use case for the big receive markets around the world, the Indias and Bangladesh's and Philippines, it'd just be amazing to have it in those markets. So I'm really, really excited about trying to push it to those.
All right. Thank you, and congratulations
Thank you
with the new
very much.
announcement. That was MoneyGram International Chair and CEO Alex Holmes.